One of the common challenges that growing roofing and contracting companies face is that they have a lack of processes, and they know that, but they're just not sure how to take that next step to actually create those processes to get to where they want to go. Today, in my conversation with my friend Pete McKendrick of Roofr, we dive deep into some of the things that every contracting company can do to start building out their processes, including how to evaluate what tech tools you need as a roofing or contracting company, and the million-dollar question, what's the right CRM for my business? Pete McKendrick is a product expert. He's got decades of experience in the industry, and he's currently the product expert at Roofr, and he generously shares his experience and his insights with us to help us make better decisions about our businesses and to help us build more efficiency and effectiveness in everything that we're doing. So tune in, pay attention, focus, take some notes. I'm happy to bring you my conversation with Pete McKendrick of Roofr. All right, what's up, Pete? So grateful to have you here. I know you're a busy man. How you doing today?
Very good, man. I appreciate you having me on. Excited to jump on with you for sure.
Cool. Yeah, you have a lot of product experience with CRMs and other tools. You've got a lot of experience in the roofing industry. I definitely want to dive in and just kind of extract some of the lessons and insights that you have from your years of experience. Before we get into that, though, give us a little flavor and intro as to who is Pete McKendrick and what you're up to.
Yeah, I started out in the home improvement industry back in the field. I started out actually in, we call it production trim. So I actually was trimming houses down in Florida. We would knock houses out a day, trim these track houses. And that's kind of how I got into it. And then it kind of evolved from there into the GC side. We did a lot of new construction. We did a lot of, anything, in-home renovations, bathrooms, kitchens, all the way to, complete restorations and remodels and things like that. So, and then I came over to the tech side of the business about 6 years ago with a company, Job Progress, the CRM in the industry. So that was kind of how I got my feet wet on the SaaS side, on the tech side of it. And been over there ever since. Been with Roofr just about 3 years now. So yeah, it's really been quite a journey there. I learned a lot along the way. I always joke that it's ironic that I work in roofing because one of my claims to fame when I was out in the field was that I was deathly afraid of heights. And so I would never go on the roof. I had other project managers that would deal with the roofing crews and I would yell at them from the ground. But so it's kind of ironic that I'm in roofing now, but I love it. I love it. It's been an interesting industry to be involved in. And, I really enjoy working with roofers.
Interesting industry, yeah, for sure. Well, that it's ironic, but it's also kind of like poetic because, like, with the roofer, tools, you don't need to get on the roof. So
yeah, it's very true, very true.
Tools and things like that.
Plays well.
Yeah. And you're a Jersey guy, right?
I am, yeah, just up the road from you, I believe. So Central Jersey area. So
yeah, we both live in New Jersey. What's one thing that you love and one thing you do not love about New Jersey?
I love the weather here. I actually do enjoy the seasons. I grew up here. I lived in Florida for about 17 years. And, when you come back here, everyone says, why did you leave Florida? Honestly, it's the weather there gets to you after a while. I mean, it's like, I say it's the equivalent of living in the Amazon jungle with the humidity in the summertime. So we do enjoy the seasons here. Definitely there are differences between living there and living here. It's definitely a bit more crowded here than it is down there. And although it is changing down there as well, a lot of people, we saw a huge influx right before we left of people from the north moving to the south. COVID and, the ability to work remotely changed that a lot. So you got a lot of people from up here bringing their salaries down there and bringing their, being able to move easily to Florida. So we saw it starting to get busy down there. But yeah, I mean, I would say the seasons are definitely the thing we like the most about being here.
Cool. Love it. Yeah, I do like the seasons as well. And people complain about it, but most people have a choice of where they live. So, if you don't like it, then move.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so Roofr, how do you say it, by the way?
Yeah, it's one of those things, though. It is Roofr.
Yeah.
But we've kind of, just resigned ourselves to the fact that people are going to pronounce it either way. So, we kind of play along. It is Roofr, but we do have plenty of people that call it Roofr. So I think, Matt Radford drew an interesting point at RoofCon. When we originally launched the company, our logo actually had the last R in a different color. So because of that, I think that's why people started to call it Roofr, because the R was very distinct and stood out. We've since rebranded to be all the same, as you can see behind me. But yeah, it's considerable difference. Roofr. I mean, it makes it's kind of like unique branding, I guess, right?
Either way, exactly. It's like techie, eliminate some vowels, I guess. So Roofr came on the scene the last couple of years. I've been in the industry a while, and to me anyway, kind of came on the scene in a big way, doing a lot of things. So what exactly? And you're the product guy, so I'm sure you're responsible for most of those developments. What exactly is Roofr for those who don't know?
Yeah, Roofr started out as a marketplace model. What we were originally was a broker, more or less, like in between. We had our own version of like an instant estimator. We called it the calculator, that was on our website. We drove traffic to it, and then we would broker deals between the homeowner and the contractor. That we had a vetted network of contractors that worked with us, and we were doing it in a few areas of the country. And what we realized really early on was that the experience for the customer was lacking because the contractor couldn't efficiently quote in a timely manner, to get us back a quote to be able to present to the customer. So it was kind of a breakdown in the process a bit. So we pivoted and decided to build contractor-facing tools, and the first of which was our measurement tool. So, a bit of a disruptive tool, I think, to the market, which I think really kind of helped us stake our claim. The biggest thing for us was at the time, there weren't a lot of players there, and we were able to come in at a price point. I still worked at the other CRM when Roofr first came on the scene, and I remember everyone saying, hey, these guys are super cheap. What's the catch, right? Like, what's the reason? Are they, super inaccurate? Is their customer service terrible? Are they going to jack the price up in 6 months? Maybe they're going to go out of business a year from now. What's the deal with these guys? And then as we established ourselves and people realized, like, no, these guys just, have figured out a better way, more efficient way to do it that allows them to be at a better price point. Then we were able to kind of get our foundation laid there and really start to stake our claim and make a name for ourselves. So, and then we've kind of evolved from there. The next logical step that we were asked for by our customers was, hey, I've got these measurements. I want to be able to quickly convert them into a proposal that I can present to the customer. So we built a proposal tool, and then we've kind of just evolved from there. And now we're on this journey to build, an all-in-one solution, with the CRM functionality being added.
Fantastic. Love it. Yeah. And you have things rolling out. It seems like monthly, I'm always hearing about product updates. Maybe more than that.
Yeah. I mean, we've, I think we've quadrupled the size of all of our stuff's developed in-house. And, we've quadrupled the size of that team. So we've got a lot of people working, day in and day out to just better the product, the existing features, as well as add new stuff. So, and it's been fantastic. They've been able to really roll stuff out in record time. And, and the features that come out are no slouch. I mean, they're not, just your MVPs of these features. They're really, like high quality, stout features right out of the box. And, it's been really good and really easy to evolve on them after that because of that. So it's been pretty nice to see how quickly we can, get these things out the door and really help contractors get what they're asking us for. So
yeah, that's cool. I like that. Like, you use that term MVP, and that's, more of a software term that most of our listeners probably won't know, but minimum viable product. Yeah. And I think it's what a lot of like companies will do, whether it's a roofing company, it's like, oh, we do roofing. Oh, we also do siding too. And it's like, it's just kind of the minimum thing that we need to do to like make more money on a job or whatever. And the software company might be like, yeah, I'm a measurement tool. Oh yeah, we have this CRM too, just to kind of check the box. But it sounds like, and it seems like you guys are really like going all in with the product development, where it's like, hey, we're not going to launch a new feature or something unless it's like, best in class.
Yeah, we've really focused on having our team set up in a way that they can continue to focus on the features that we've put out and not just build a feature and have to move on to the next. It was partly a mistake that we made at my previous company, is that we would build a feature because we were asked for it by the the contractor base that was using us. We would push the feature out, but then we had this backlog of other features they were asking us for, so we would quickly jump to the next, and it would be a considerable amount of time before we would circle back and potentially improve that feature. So, I think we're doing a very good job of managing that right now at Roofr, and and being able to keep everything, moving forward at a pretty good pace and constantly evolving so that we're not at that minimal viable product for very long,
Cool.
so if at all, really.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And like you're talking about features, and I can't help myself but think about like the typical, younger, newer like roofing company where like we thought, like I just had a meeting with one today down in Texas, and I think their goal this year is 1.4 million. So, smaller startup, residential, doing some things right. Took his eye off that. He's focusing on commercial already, doing different things. And it's like, yeah, like you're not going to be able to be great at any one thing. If if you chase two rabbits, you catch neither. Like you're not going to be able to like perfect your processes and get really good. If you're not able to get really good at something, you're not able to like really charge what you want. And sure enough, this guy's discounting his services already. You're not able to charge what you want. You're not making a profit that you need to then reinvest into growing your company and building that brand and building that awesome company. So yeah, I think that's what too many smaller companies do. And I did it too. We first started like 11 years ago, trying to be all things to all people and just be a yes man. And it doesn't work out too well.
Yeah, it's tough. I think I always use Company Cam as the example in this industry. I think they've done probably the best job of anybody of just kind of focusing on one specific thing that they found a need for and just becoming the best in class at that specific feature, and they own that space because of it, right? Like they absolutely own it. They have essentially no competition there because they've just done such a good job of refining that one specific feature and not trying. And I'm sure that they've been asked along the way to become many other things and add tons of other features. And they just kind of, have stayed in their lane more or less and just stayed on that path and focused on that one thing and mastered it. And it's, found a ton of success for them. And I think the same thing can be said for a lot of roofing companies because it is easy, right? You're there, you're quoting a roof or you're doing the roof and they're like, oh, by the way, like it leaked inside. I need some drywall repair, right? And then next thing you know, you're taking on all these other trades. And where does it end, right? Before next thing you know, you're at GC. So it's like, I think you got to be really careful with it because especially early on, right? It's very easy. You're possibly looking for work, trying to make some extra money. Right. It's very easy to say yes to a lot of things. And next thing you know, you're in a bad spot. It becomes tough to manage, maybe from a people standpoint and also from a schedule standpoint. And, you find yourself not making the money you thought you were going to make because of it.
Yeah, man. I've been there, done that for sure. So
everybody has, I think.
Focus is your friend. Yeah. So Company Cam, amazing example of that. Like just, staying in your lane. You guys at Roofr are building out what we call the all-in-one solution. Is that something that you believe the market needs and that people are asking for? Like what's the why behind that?
Yeah, I think it's always been the vision for us. I think that the idea behind it, or at least my take on it, is that, we used to have a very minimal amount of software. Even 6 years ago when I came into the industry, there was only a few to choose from. You had one or two CRMs, you had a measurement tool, you had a few other things to choose from, but you didn't have a lot of tech. And now you go to these shows, like we were both just at RoofCon, or you go to IRE and 3/4 of the floor is software platforms now, and it's just flooded with tech. And so COVID obviously had a big part in that. And, the need for tech, obviously, because we couldn't do business the same way. We were doing a lot of things more remotely. So we got flooded with tech. And I think that, we all fell I call it the trap. I have it in a presentation that I do. I call it the trap. And it's like, we all kind of fell for it and said like, oh, I can plug this in and I can plug that in. And next thing you know, you've got 8, 10, 15 different platforms running to try to get your business through the day. And, potentially they don't talk to each other and they don't play well together. They don't integrate. You got Zapier running or something like that to try to hook them to each other. So it just became very difficult to manage, where there's organizations that actually have people employed that do nothing but manage their tech stack and try to, facilitate moving information around and things like that. And so I think the idea for us was, that, hey, now's the time to go back the other way a bit and consolidate some of this stuff and say, hey, we want to take you from the 8, 10, 15 platforms that you've grown into over the last couple of years and be able to pull those back to, let's say, 3, right? And, and really have a core product that does the majority of this functionality. And you don't have to have someone on staff to manage all these subscriptions and make sure that everything talks to each other.
Yeah, the subscriptions, I laugh because we all have those. We have those right now, the things you're paying for that you haven't used in months or maybe
Yes.
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
they collect dust. We went through that this year. We went through a CRM change to Go High Level, which is a marketing CRM, but it replaced like 7 different tools that we were paying for. So everything became more efficient. We're saving money. Everything's in one spot. We're still working through it. There's just a lot there, but yeah, that's it's been awesome so far. So I totally get that. Yeah. So that being said, I mean, leading into the question that I need to ask, and I don't, you, maybe by now you hate being asked this question, but we see it all the time on social media, like the industry groups and threads and things like that. When someone asks, what's the best CRM for my company? What CRM do I choose? Obviously, you'd like to be able to say Roofr, but I'm sure your answer goes much deeper into, how to help them evaluate what they might need.
I actually do enjoy this question because I think it's, because I think that, on Facebook, you're going to get, everyone's going to pipe in and say, oh, you should check out my CRM, right?
Right.
And so that's essentially what it is. It's every salesperson from every CRM commenting in there saying, hit me up for a demo, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think that, first of all, I think there is no perfect CRM for anyone, right? I think if you think that, you're a bit delusional. And if someone tells you that, they're probably full of crap, right? Like your CRM is never going to be perfect for everybody.
Yeah, we have frustrations with ours. Yeah, there's things that I hate about it, but it's like the good outweighs the bad,
Exactly. And that's the reality of it, is that you are going to have to make concessions. I used to work early on in life. In my 20s, I worked in boat manufacturing. And, in boat manufacturing, the average boat owner owns a boat for 5 years before they upgrade to another boat. And most of the time they upgrade because they think, oh, I wish my boat had, X, Y, and Z. These 3 other features that my current boat doesn't have. So they switch, they upgrade, they go to a bigger boat or something like that. And then they get there, and 6 months later, they're thinking to themselves, I really miss these 3 features from my old boat, right? So, and we used to say to them, there is no perfect boat. Like, you're never going to find a boat that's perfect for you. And there's always going to be some concessions there. There's going to be things you love about it and things you wish it had that it doesn't. And the CRM reminds me exactly of the same thing, right? Like, you're going to have things that you find that are fantastic about the CRM you have, and there's going to be things that you wish it did that it doesn't. And if you find the one that does, it's probably going to be lacking some of the stuff that your current CRM has. So I think that, like you guys just switched to Go High Level. I'm sure Go High Level has things that your previous CRM didn't, but it probably is missing some things that your previous CRM had. Right. So it's just part of it. So, I always say the biggest things when looking for a CRM, especially if you're a smaller company, is think of the 5, I would say make a list of 5 things. Really, it's preparation, right? Knowing what questions to ask, do demos with all of them, and find the one that fits the way you want to do things the best, right? So I would say make a list of like your 5 top hitters, the things that are your must-haves. Maybe it's scheduling. Maybe you have a good sized sales team and you want to easily be able to see, how everyone's performing. Maybe it's, maybe you're doing a lot of repair and maintenance. So you need some type of a field service management type of software, So I think all of these things are things that you need to look at by really analyzing your own process and figuring out what are the 5 key things that are really going to drive helping my business? Where are my biggest areas of opportunity? And what CRM is possibly going to help me? And then maybe throw in some I wish that it did this kind of things, some nice to haves on top of that, but don't make a decision on the nice to haves, make a decision on the must haves. And, and find the one that is going to cover as many of the must haves as you can. And, like you said, where the pros are going to definitely outweigh the cons. And then you can kind of make concessions from there on out to make one of them work. But if you're looking for that perfect one, which I think for a long time, contractors made the mistake of thinking, I'll just find this perfect CRM. You're never going to find it. And then you just get on this, this merry-go-round of just kind of rotating through the CRM offerings and never really finding one that you think is the best. And I think the other piece of that is contractors, I think a lot of times look for the CRM that fits them best right now, right? They look for the CRM that works for, hey, we're having an issue with production right now. Let's find a CRM that has a better production tool. They don't think ahead enough, I think, and a lot of that, again, goes back to knowing your process, having some preparation. What are your goals, right? Like, where do you want to go as a company? Hey, I'm totally fine being a $15 million a year roofing company, or I want to be a $50 or $100 million roofing company. There's plenty of contractors out there that you can talk to, and I'm sure you've talked to lots of them, that will tell you, I'm perfectly fine at $10 million. I'm making good profit. My family's comfortable. I'm good with that business, and I don't need to go any bigger or grander than that, and I'm sure there's guys out there that, are killing it, making, $40-50 million a year in revenue. And each one of them has their own unique situation, but I think you have to know that up front, and don't buy the CRM that fits you as a $2 million company, because it's not going to fit you as a $10 million company or as a $15 million company. Try to find the CRM that's going to fit you as a $15 million company and grow into it. Right. And, and that way you're not in a situation where you're on this revolving door of CRMs and constantly having to upgrade your CRM to keep up with the business, because I think that's probably the biggest mistake and the hardest headache, for most of these contractors. I mean, ask any contractor who's gone through, or you said you guys just went through a CRM and you're still working through it. You make an adjustment to a CRM, a change to a CRM, and migrating data and getting your team trained and adopting it. I mean, it's a nightmare. It's a long process.
It is. We started a year ago, actually, and it's not been a continuous year because we got busy. We had one of our key team members went out on leave for a little while, and we kind of picked it back up. But we hired a consultant to help us, and I'm so glad we did, because there's just, it takes time. So, and that, what you said, Pete, could be said about anything, right? Like people looking to, business owners looking to solve the problem that's right in front of them. Obviously, we can't ignore those problems, but like most business owners don't look far enough down the path in terms of like what type of business do they want to build, getting the right people in place, right? You hire the sales rep today because you need leads and sales today, and you're not hiring for the future. Marketing, everyone's looking for, the quick fix with marketing. Very few people are looking to invest in the future. So yeah, it's just a big mindset thing for a lot of the industry. I think like you work with a lot of, contractors, as do we. So it's something we see over and over and over again. So, and it's like the more you ignore the long-term issues or the long-term vision and just focus on that short-term, like the longer you're delaying your actual long-term progress, because you're just like, what did you call it? The merry-go-round? Yeah, I call it the hamster wheel. Like you're just like spinning around. You're never going to like get that escape velocity that you need. So
yeah, I think it's just, it makes sense. I know I get everyone is looking constantly, right, to try to improve their business. And I think the thing that we struggle with, I think, honestly, as an industry, is the preparation piece. I mean, how many contractors have you talked to that have ever written a business plan before they've launched a roofing business, or even 5 years into business and have no SOPs or any kind of mission statement or anything like that written down? I think that if we asked a lot of small roofing companies that question of, hey, do you want to be a $10 million roofing company or do you want to be a $50 million roofing company? They're probably all going to say, I want to be a $50 million roofing company, right? You know what I mean? But I think it's because they haven't really looked at the preparation piece and realized like, hey, I don't need to necessarily be a $50 million roofing company to get to where I would like to be from a successful standpoint, right? I had a conversation with a contractor just the other day, and we were talking about, everybody thinks they want to be a $100 million roofing company, but that's a revenue number. It's not a profit number. You can be a much more profitable roofing company at $15 or $20 million than you are at $100 million if you do it right. And I think that's the piece that, a lot of contractors overlook, because there is a bit of a lack of preparation. We kind of dive into it and just kind of figure it out as we go, I think a lot of times.
Yeah, 100%. We work on that. We have a couple of clients. This is going back to one of our group calls a couple of weeks ago, that are sub 10 million, and they're personally making around $1 million a year, running lean businesses. And that's a freaking great life. Like, and not a very, that's
pretty happy, right?
Yeah, seriously. And before this call, we had one of our mastermind meetings. We had 26 contractors on there. And like, I had this book on my desk at all times. We go through this book called Vivid Vision with our mastermind members. And it's exactly that. It's like, create the vision for what you want your company to be like. And it's something that you need to do, and then continually kind of, revisit to make sure that it's really what you want. And so many people just don't do that. It's like, yeah, I just want more. And I'm going to make more money. And that guy, he's killing it. I want to do what he's doing, So it's right now we're in late November, getting into like winter and the holidays, like a great time to take some time to figure that out, for the new year, for the future. Take some time while it's not so busy to kind of figure that stuff out.
Yeah, most people are in planning mode for 2024 anyway. So, take it a step further and say, okay, yeah, this is what we want to accomplish in 2024, but this is what we want to accomplish 3 years from now, 5 years from now, potentially 10 years from now, right? Maybe it's an exit event, maybe it's growing to a certain size, whatever it may be, but mapping that out, taking the time to sit down and really map that out, even obviously that goal is probably going to move and change a bit, but at least having an idea of what direction you want to go, I think is definitely a huge advantage when you're looking at, your process and your hiring and, all of these things, like you said, getting into potentially other trades, it's going to completely change the way you look at every decision you make in your business, I think.
Absolutely. Yes. I just answered that question for one of our guys today. He was looking for some advice. He's got a business partners, 2 of them, and looking for some advice on how to basically be a better leader and just make better decisions. And I went back to that book. I was like, when you create that vision, it kind of serves as a filter for most decisions you're going to make. Yeah. Do we start doing solar? Well, does it fit the vision? Like, do we open up a new location? Do we chase that storm? Like, whatever it might be, like, it doesn't fit the vision, it's a clear no. But without that vision, you're like, yeah, anything looks like a good idea, right?
Right.
Such a good topic that needs to be talked about more for sure. So I'm glad we hit on that. Yeah. So, I mean, you work with a lot of contractors, you have for many, many years. So have we. So I feel like guys like us have a pretty unique insight as to patterns, right? You start to see patterns that develop among, companies that do really well, that make, good revenue, good profit, that run good businesses, that aren't running around with their hair on fire every day. And then you see other patterns of, of things that companies are doing maybe wrong or there's missing. So you want to talk about that a little bit, like some good positive patterns and then maybe some negative ones, just to kind of bring some awareness to the audience of what they can, what they can focus on and what they can maybe avoid.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, it goes back to at the root of it goes back to your process. If you can ask a contractor what his process is and he can clearly sit down and explain it to you, the odds are that he's probably pretty dialed in and he, regardless of his size, is probably pretty successful, right? Because he can easily identify his areas of opportunity. He can easily make tweaks and adjustments to the business. He can figure out where he needs people. He can figure out where he needs tech. He can figure out where he can potentially save money and make extra money. I think it's easy to make those moves when you have a very, very clear process to look at and work within. From my experience, seeing very, very large companies that were making lots of money that were an absolute disaster because they had no process in place, right? They had grown either very, very quickly or just from a leadership standpoint, kind of were just figuring it out as they went and, really didn't have a good set process in the beginning, were just a complete mess, even though they were large companies. So size doesn't always equal, organization, I think. And that's, I think sometimes in the industry, we lose track of that. We look at these big guys and we're like, oh man, I want to get to that guy's level. Look at the lifestyle he's living. Look at the company he's running, multiple offices, tons of employees. That doesn't mean he's successful by any means, right? I think that he might have the biggest headache in the world on his hands there. So I think that it really all stems from the process. If you got that process dialed in early on, as early as you can, watched Ty Backer's breakout session, and he said in his breakout session, when you start out, you might have 2 employees. And he said, when he started out and he had only a few employees, he used to just go to them and say, I don't know what to do here, figure it out, right? And he said, if that's your process, that's your process in the beginning, but at least it's a process, right? He's like, there always is a process, even if it's a sloppy one.
Yeah.
There always is a process there. So, so really kind of figuring out early on, what is our process and then what can we do to make it better? And to realize, I don't think that you ever truly have that process dialed in, right? There's always areas to improve. There's always an opportunity to tweak it and adjust it and get better because obviously the situation's constantly changing, right? The market's changing, the dynamic of your employees is changing, the dynamic of your customer base is changing. So, I think there's always that opportunity to tweak and make adjustments and improve on what you have. But, having at least that good foundational process will make a huge difference in long-term success.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, maybe the stuff that people weren't expecting to hear, but like the stuff that we all need to hear, the processes. And I think a lot of people are like, all right, that sounds great, Pete. I'm so busy. Like, I just want to snap my finger and have all my processes created. What do you recommend to people? It's like, as far as like how to build out their processes, right? You're, the owner of a $1 or $2 million a year roofing company. You're busy. You're doing all the things. Where do you start?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to do it is to just think of it from your customer standpoint, follow your customer's journey through what you guys are doing and write it down. I think that's the easiest place to start, Hey, a customer calls me. Okay, customer called me. What do we do next? We schedule an appointment. Okay, great. What do we do when we go out on this appointment? What happens then? When do we give them a contract? How are we getting a signature? How are we scheduling jobs? What's the handoff from sales to production? And just kind of work your way through that journey, keeping the customer in mind, because I think ultimately, at the end of the day, the driving force of that process is your customer experience. It always stems back to one of the things that as I've done some of these presentations and we traveled around, we did this RISE, tour at Roofr where we did 10 cities. There you go. We did 10 cities. We stopped in Atlantic City and visited Joe. But, one of the things that I realized along the way was, having these conversations is, it really all comes back to the customer experience. Like if your goal is to build this world-class customer experience, your process will mirror that, right? And your team will fall within that process and they'll work towards building that customer experience. And so will your tech. And all of these other things will kind of fall in line, if the ultimate North Star is to create a world-class experience for that customer. And the reason for that is, still to this day, the number one way to get business for a roofing company is the referral. So why would we not want to create a world-class customer experience that we can then go back and ask that customer for a referral after we've just given them the best experience of their life with a contractor? The odds are we're going to get a great referral out of them. We're going to get a great review. And it just all becomes this, this circle that just keeps reproducing for us. And so, I think that take that into account. And I think that, when we think about process, we just kind of think internally. And I think you really have to look at it from the customer's point of view, as how is what we're doing every day affecting our customer and what can we do to make that better?
Man, that's gold. I love that. Yeah. And we're a marketing company. And I always say like your best marketing is creating a great product. And that product in a service business is your client experience. So you're right in line with that. That's awesome. We had a webinar. We did a webinar today, and like the call to action on our webinars is, hey, schedule an appointment with Elizabeth to learn more about what we do, blah, blah, blah. So we had a bunch of appointments scheduled, and we're traveling to Best of Success next week. So she's out. And so there's a couple of people that scheduled like sales appointments for a couple of weeks from now. So after the webinar, we did a recap. We're like, all right, so these people scheduled an appointment for like December 11th. Okay. What do we need to send them between now and then to, remind them to actually show up? Great. But also like, keep them engaged, keep them excited. And so we're going to work on a couple of things. And so we have kind of two lists for that. The first thing is, yes, we're going to do some things right now to make that happen. And then in my mind, I also have like the dream scenario, right? So like, what would the dream scenario be for that prospective customer? Maybe it's even getting us something in the mail, like a handwritten note, or maybe it's like, something more personal touch that we're not going to implement right away, but it's kind of like on that dream scenario list that we can like work toward. So that's something we always try to keep in mind anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when I worked at the CRM, one of the things that we did, that we kind of figured out was we would get to these training sessions to our onboardings with people that were new signups, and they weren't as fruitful as they could be because we weren't necessarily setting them up for success, and we weren't communicating enough information early on, even before that first initial call, but saying like, hey, here's some homework, here's some things you can bring with you to be better prepared and get more out of, this initial onboarding call, and something as simple as that, like, hey, here's a checklist of things that you want to have ready. Here's questions we're going to ask you. So have the answers to this stuff, just simple things like that. Just like you said, it keeps them engaged, because now they've got something to work on in the meantime, but it also sets them up to be more successful once they get on that call with you, and get more out of it. So,
yeah, I love that. And as a contractor, the roofer, like you do the same thing, right? Send out, get some pre-appointment automation, some post-appointment automation so that you're adding value and getting people excited as they can be about getting a new roof or a roof repair, right? And then, one of the things that I've learned over the years is about process creation is that it doesn't all have to come from the top. Like, it doesn't have to come from the owner. And I kind of had that mistaken belief for a while. I'm like, all right, well, hire these people. Now I got to like create this whole book of processes and give them the processes. And that's like obviously a huge bottleneck and not very efficient or effective. And so over the years, I learned to, recruit other team members to create their own processes. And we have SOPs being created every week. And usually I'm not the one doing them, which is nice. But even if you don't, if someone's out there listening or watching, like you don't have any employees, or maybe it's you and your spouse or you and a helper or an office admin, don't try to do it all on your own, because you'll never do it. And the processes won't be very good because you're not doing everything in your business. So like for me, I'm not doing everything in my business. Like, how can I go create a process for something that I'm not doing? So that's been a huge learning experience for me.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be realistic. Like, we can't be experts on all of it, right? Yeah. Like, you may be the guy who has the marketing and sales end of things buttoned up, and I may be the guy that has a better understanding of the production end of things, and I'm not heavy on sales, right? Maybe I wasn't a salesperson and I don't understand that end of it as well. So why does it make sense for me to create processes and SOPs around sales when that's not my strongest area, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that, leverage your team. If you have people in your team that have strengths in certain areas, definitely lean heavy on them for ideas and, just feedback and leverage their experience and lean on it a bit, to get the most out of that process for sure. Yeah.
And then the other side of that coin, having different people create processes, is that you can, I don't know what the term would be, but cross-training maybe. But like, so we have our fulfillment team, which is like our marketing training team, which is run by Sydney. She's awesome. And so, sometimes I'll look at like the way that they're doing things and I have a fresh pair of eyes because I'm not in that every day. And I can ask some questions like, oh, why do we do it this way? Or maybe can we add this in here? Sometimes I'm dead wrong. And, they're like, no, Joe, stay in your lane. Or maybe they come over to marketing and they're like, oh, like we could, maybe do this thing. And so having fresh eyes from different like departments, even if your departments are just one person, having some fresh eyes in those processes can be huge, because when we create a process, we make so many assumptions. Like we think that, everyone knows like what we know, what's in our head. But part of a process is you really need to like dumb it down to the basics, like the individual steps. So I read this book one time called Work the System by Sam Carpenter. Super, I don't know if I'd recommend it because it's very dense. It's way longer than it needs to be. But Sam had a process for, I'll never forget, like a 17-step process for the way that you answer the phone. And so that might be too granular, but like that's the level that you want to kind of shoot for. Like make it more granular than you think you have to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you say that. In my manufacturing background, I learned Lean Six Sigma, and Lean Six Sigma is a process improvement, type of thinking that they train you on in manufacturing a lot of times. And it was so granular that it was literally down to tracking, the positioning of tools. Let's say, right? Like, hey, if this guy has to turn around and take 2 steps to pick up a tool, and he's doing that 5 times a day, how long is that taking him? And if he's doing that task 100 times a week, how long does that equate to? And if we were to move the tool 3 feet so that it's within reach, how much time did we just save that guy? And then potentially how much money did we just save the company by him not having to burn all this extra time? Like we just made him that much more efficient. Kind of the same idea of 17 steps just to answer the phone, right? It was that granular, and I think that we look at a lot of times the really big picture from a roofing standpoint, right? But, simple things, I think that we could look at and potentially improve. I went to a roofing company not that long ago, and he was a smaller roofing company, right? I think they were going to make about $3 million in revenue this year. And, but really had their process pretty dialed in. And we're walking through the office, he's giving me a tour, and he kicks open this back door, and he's got like a small warehouse. And he's got all this material on the shelves. And I was like, what's going on here? And he's like, well, I only offer 3 roofing systems. And I was losing a tremendous amount of time from when the suppliers were delivering my materials and I was short things, having to run to Home Depot or back to another supplier to find something that we were short. He's like, so I figured out I could make a small investment up front, stock my 3 roofing systems. We load the inventory here at the shop and we take it. So that way, if we're running low on something, we just replenish it and we're never out of things when we get to a job site. So when we get to a job site, we go to work, we knock it out. And so he figured out just that little bit of time savings for his production managers or for one of his crew guys to have to leave the job site, go find the material. It potentially is holding up the crew. Maybe it's something that that they need specifically to do the job. He dialed that little piece of the process in and was saving, countless hours over the course of a year just by stocking that inventory and being more efficient in the way he got the material to the job site.
So yeah, this makes so much sense. Pete is talking about selecting the tools, not that you need right now to solve this immediate problem, but that you're growing to accomplish your goals and live the vision that you have for your business and for your life. And guys, the same thing is true with marketing. What we see in the roofing and contracting industry over and over and over again is this focus on solving the immediate problem of not having enough leads and wanting to get some leads to fill that gap. And yes, we don't want to ignore the problems that are right in front of us, but a lack of leads is not actually a big problem. It's actually a symptom of a much larger problem, which is that you don't have a system for building your brand and consistently and predictably generating your own customers so that you're always in this problem of looking for leads. And we need to address the short-term issue. We also need to address the longer-term issue and solve that branding and marketing problem for good. And that's exactly what we do here at Contractor Dynamics. We are a marketing training company for roofing contractors. That's all we do all day, every day, is train roofing companies on how to build and run their own marketing, how to create a marketing plan, how to create the budget, how to actually do the different pieces of marketing, how to make sure that we're allocating the right resources into the right activities to ultimately achieve the goals that we have for ourselves. So that's what we do at Contractor Dynamics. If you're interested in learning more about that, talking with me or someone here on our team, head on over to contractordynamics.com, our website. Click on the link below and we'll get you set up with some information that you need to build a stronger, more consistent and predictable roofing company. Dude, that's really cool. That's awesome. That's some forward thinking. I love that.
Yeah. Especially for a smaller company. It's the first time that I've ever seen a company of that size do something of that caliber. Obviously it was a significant investment up front to keep inventory, but the time savings was worth it to them.
Yeah. I think a lot of people might look at and say, hey, once I get to a certain level, I'll get a warehouse and I'll start stockpiling material. Yeah. Our client, Dan Young Construction in Northern Iowa, he said that on a couple of YouTube channels and videos and interviews and things like that. And they do that. They're a bigger company. But hey, maybe you don't get to that size unless you are doing some of those things, right? So that's interesting. Yeah, that investment in time, creating the process, a lot of times I'll think all right, I'm doing this thing, I'm the bottleneck for this thing. Can I take an extra 15 minutes to do this thing to just document it? And so I never have to do it again, and a lot of times it's no, I don't have 15 minutes right now. I'll just do it in 2 minutes and just you keep doing that. But eventually, we need to pay the piper and get it done,
Yeah, well, it was an interesting point you made earlier too about having the fresh eyes look on it. Because I think one of the things is continuity, right? I think, that's something that you struggle with. You end up with kind of especially in roofing, right? You end up with 2 very distinct departments. You got your sales end of things, you got your production end of things, right? So they're not necessarily communicating well with each other. A lot of times the handoff isn't great. And so if you have someone from production looking at sales, they're looking at it in the eyes of the production person and how it's ultimately going to affect what they do, right? So they may make suggestions that may streamline not only the sales end of things, but may also help their end of it, and vice versa, right? Sales may look at production and be like, hey, here's some things that you guys could do to help pump jobs out faster, because I'm going to go sell some more stuff and make it the whole transition more efficient. So I think, keeping that continuity in line and helping each other, and getting the, kind of the buy-in from both departments to say, hey, take a look at these guys and see what could they possibly be doing to help make your life easier, and in turn, you're improving the whole process overall.
Man, I love it, man. We're getting deep on this. I love this. I think like zooming out a little bit, because I want to start to wrap up, respect your time. I think like zooming out, it's like, okay, like we're talking about these different things, and it requires a consistent commitment of time that you're carving out to like create processes, get some fresh eyes on different departments, like cross training, whatever you want to call it. And I think that, well, I know that's something, obviously working with so many companies, that is really, is like, creating that time in the calendar and holding yourself accountable to like doing whatever that thing is every week. That's key in my book anyway. I don't know if you have any thoughts on.
Yeah, we used to always have contractors say to us when I was at the CRM, like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to do an onboarding call, or I don't have time to do another training next week. Yeah. And my response to that was, do you eat lunch? I mean, if you're eating lunch, that's probably 30 minutes out of your day that you could take a pad and make some notes while you're eating, or sit on a Zoom call while I'm training you, or whatever the case may be, right? You're eating lunch every day, and that's 30 minutes that you're probably sitting down somewhere. You're unplugging a bit from the business for a second, so it's a great opportunity to maybe take a step back and say, hey, here's something. Maybe you're just making some notes of things you want to look at or talk about later with your team, or, work on maybe later or the next morning, or when you have some free time, or whatever the case may be. But it's a great opportunity because, it's 30 minutes every day that you're going to be sitting down and have an opportunity to take a look at things, take a step back, like you said, and kind of, get out of the weeds a bit for a second.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I've not eaten lunch yet today. It's 4:00. So thanks for the reminder. One of those days. Yeah. Now I got to be careful not to like go and eat like everything. Cool. So yeah, let's start to wrap it up. I want to get into a lightning round, but anything else that you wanted to touch on that you felt was important to get across in this conversation, Pete?
Yeah, I think that, I think as we go into 2024, I think the biggest thing that I would say is, I think it's interesting. I'm seeing more and more bigger roofing companies, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that more and more people are starting to realize that they need to have these processes in place, and they need to be better from a business standpoint and not just a good roofer.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's really interesting. I asked a question at our Rise things about, how long have you guys been in business? Show of hands, who's been in business 2 or less years, show of hands, who's been in business 5 or more years. And the interesting part was when I asked the people who had been in business for 2 or less years, and then asked which of them were employing tech, almost all their hands stayed up, right? So the new guys coming in are more tech savvy. They're more open to adopting tech to streamline the business. They're thinking of it in more of a business standpoint and how they can work from the very beginning, very lean, keep the numbers of employees down, keep the process fine-tuned. And I think it's going to make a huge difference for them going into the next year or a couple of years. I think you're going to see more and more businesses shooting very quickly to, the $10 million number where, I remember when I first started, a $5 million roofing company was a big roofing company. Yeah. And now that's on the smaller side for sure. So I think that that's a big change that I've seen in the industry, but I think a lot of it has to do with people just having a better understanding and adopting embracing more of the business side of things. And, okay, how do we do this in a leaner, more organized, more efficient manner? And I think that's going to be a huge piece going into the next year or two.
Awesome. That's huge. I love that. And for those who are not like the under 2-year contractors, maybe you're older and more established and you have not been adopting tech, like that's just an opportunity right there because you've already built a successful business without it. So what happens when you pulse on some of these awesome tools like Roofr and, other things that are out there?
Yeah. And I think it's a great opportunity to just go back and, like I said, never stop getting better. So take this opportunity to, hey, we got to $5 or $10 million more or less by the seat of our pants, probably, right? So let's go back and look at our process and see, okay, where are our areas of opportunity? Where can we get better over the next year? Maybe it's employing a piece of tech. Maybe it's streamlining the business by, carrying a little bit of inventory, whatever the case may be, right? There's an opportunity there somewhere, I can guarantee it. And finding those and affecting the bottom line, I think is going to be big, for a lot of companies. I
love that. Thanks so much for sharing, Pete. Do you have a couple minutes to stick around for some fun questions at the end?
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, secret question. You can choose to be any kitchen appliance that you want. What are you choosing to be and why?
It's interesting, right? I think maybe the KitchenAid, right? for its versatility, right? Like it can do all kinds of stuff, right? It's one of those things that can handle a lot of situations in the kitchen. So I like that aspect of it. It's a very versatile tool.
All right, nice. The Swiss Army knife of kitchen appliances.
Exactly. There you go.
All right, cool. What is a current book that you're reading?
Lean Six Sigma for service. So, Lean Six Sigma was originally a process that was designed for the manufacturing industry. There's a lot of people that kind of balked at the idea that you could employ it to service. And so now there's a movement to try to take the same ideas around Lean Six Sigma and apply them to the service industry, which you can. In my mind, I really feel that you can, to help streamline and look at your operation and improve it. And so there's a book actually called Lean Six Sigma for Service. I believe the guy's name it's not Michael Gogan. He works for Inc., but it's Michael George who actually wrote it. I knew it was with a G. I just couldn't remember who it was.
All right.
Michael George, congrats, man. Yeah, right. Gogan's a well-renowned author too, apparently.
Wow. No. All right. That's awesome. So yeah, that's a nerdy and awesome book.
Yes.
So, I know you've obviously traveled a lot to all these conferences and everything. We talked about RoofCon a couple weeks ago. What's your next travel destination?
Yeah, we're going to go visit some family in Kentucky. They've got a big spread in Kentucky. So we're going to go down there shortly after Christmas and spend a couple of days with them and just hang out and kill some time in Kentucky. So that'll be my first time there. They moved there not that long ago. So it'll be our first time visiting Kentucky. But yeah, this is actually one of the states I did not make it to this year. So I'm excited to go there and see it. So
yeah, that's cool. I've not been there either. Awesome stuff. So what are you? I know you're a family man. What is Pete doing on a free Saturday?
Yeah, we have a lot of kids involved in a lot of activities. So our Saturdays usually revolve around that. I do coach baseball. I have for years. So baseball season, we're doing that. We also do football or wrestling, and so we're in wrestling season right now. Wrestling tournaments usually are on Saturday mornings, nice and early. So that's usually how we spend at least half of our Saturday, in a gym at a wrestling tournament with 400 children. So
nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah, we're in a similar boat. Our son just started wrestling like 3 weeks ago. We're just getting into that. We're more of a soccer families, travel soccer, baseball. But yeah, weekends are awesome. I hate missing games when I'm away. I'm sure you do as well. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's tough to manage sometimes, but
absolutely.
We do it.
How can people get in touch with you or learn more about Pete, Roofr? Like, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, the best way is just hit me up via email. It's easy to remember, right? It's just pete@roofr.com. So, really simple to remember usually. So that's the easiest way. Just shoot me an email and then we can always chat. Or, if you're on Facebook, I'm always on there, obviously, in the roofing groups and stuff. So, feel free to shoot me a message through Facebook or, we can jump on a call or whatever.
Awesome, Pete. Well, yeah, I just got to know, Pete and I just met like about a month ago at the Roofr Rise event. Really cool mug, by the way, in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And it's been awesome to get to know you. And I appreciate your spending your time with us today. So thanks so much.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, we'll see you soon.
All right.
All right, guys, there you have it. We went deep into some of those nerdy topics there, but those are the things the nerdy things, the things that maybe aren't the sexiest and most, the flashiest things out there. Those are the things on which great, successful businesses are built. So hopefully you guys got some value out of that. I'm glad that Pete expertly answered that question about how to choose the best CRM for your company, some other discussion on SOPs and processes and creating that vision for your business and getting clear on what you want and why. Those are topics that come up over and over and over again in the work that we at Contractor Dynamics do with our clients inside our marketing training program and also inside our mastermind program for contracting company owners. If you'd like to dig any deeper on those topics, feel free to reach out to Pete. Feel free to reach out to me personally. Head on over to our website at contractordynamics.com. Click on the link down below and you can learn more about our marketing training programs for roofing companies and about our mastermind for contracting company owners, in which we dive into these topics on a weekly basis and guide you and hold you accountable to actually implementing the things that we talked about today. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate you. We'll see you soon.